So I'd like to step back a little bit and instead of it just being informational, I really would like this session to be experiential as well as collaborative. And I think that comes from an enormous need, as we've seen through multiple other speakers. We see through Tim as he's scribing on the walls and speaking and singing to us. It is not about one voice. And the Savory Institute in particular has made it a part of its own DNA that we are to continue to facilitate versus lead in that regards. Because we don't want the Savory Institute's voice to be any louder or any stronger than the voices collectively of all of us. And that collective voice has a power far greater than any individual voice. And as we begin to work that out in our local contexts, it becomes something that is globally and locally we can build upon. So this session in particular, we're going to want to hear those voices. So I'm going to start this session off with saying there's a couple of words that will be used and have already been used multiple times throughout the few days that we've been here that I think represent clearly where we are going as a movement, as a revolution, as a reformation, as a rhythm of who we are and what we're doing, representing the complexity of all things, including our own lives. And to recognize as a part of all that this intimate understanding of holism, or this interconnectedness of things. But before we jump into those things, I want to show a couple of slides. So what I would like to do right now, Chris, are you out there or did you take off? There he is. So what I'd like to do is, for a second, just hear from a couple of people, what voice do you hear right there? Anybody want to say something? What voice do you hear?
What voice does the picture tell me?
Yes.
Like, don't follow your dreams because that's a ridiculous idea.
Okay. What else? What voice do you hear?
What was it?
Disappointment.
I've tried so hard that nothing works. That's where I see there that I've done everything I can. Like the worker, he's working really hard. He's tried his whole life, and now his dream's canceled. So it's like he's giving up.
Good.
Raise your hands for more.
Other voices. What?
Somebody just canceled somebody else's dreams.
Very, very good. Yes.
I understood the question differently. I hear the voice of livestock. I hear the voice of ranchers and farmers.
Good. Others?
Nope.
I heard hopelessness.
Well,
Reservation.
sorry, I hate to tell you, but I've had that so often in the last 15 years. I feel very much like Neo on the station in The Matrix, where he's fighting Agent Smith, and he gets to this moment where he almost gives up. And suddenly, you see him take breath in, and he stands up, and he draws himself up, and then he wins.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Marianne. So other voices, what do you see in that?
Well, I had said the word resignation with the previous slide. I'm not sure. Now I need to think about this one.
Okay. Others?
We don't care about where we came from.
Ah, very good.
Restoration.
Good.
Potential for something new.
Losing once established good knowledge.
Other voices?
Let's wipe out creativity.
I see it as modernity washing over the traditional past or traditional teachings.
I see it as a boy and no longer passing on our traditions and what we should to our children.
Other voices?
Let's not forget where we came from, or let's actually forget where we came from.
A convergence of time of the very ancient meeting the very modern and what's going to happen.
Thank you. Yes?
Death. The death of everything that means anything.
Very good. Part of the reason I wanted to engage in this conversation, just to begin, is to recognize that as we begin to move, as we begin to take form towards creating something that involves multiple voices, that those voices that that are our own voices, the voices that we have in our own communities, the voices of those who we don't know. And those two slides to me just begin to represent the fact that if we are going to make progress, and progress not in the industrial revolutionary progress, but progress in the sense of what's qualitative, what is something that's going to be meaningful both to our families, to our communities' families, to the global family, it's going to have to be heard from every angle. It is not one angle. It is not prescriptive. It is truly holistic. Just want you to read that for a second. One voice can change a room, and if one voice can change a room, then it can change a city. And if it can change a city, it can change a state. And if it changes a state, it can change a nation. And it can change a nation, it can change the world. Your voice can change the world. It really is that collective, but it has to start with that one voice, that one single voice. So what I'd like to do right now to just give a little context for this is these voices, from a Savory Institute standpoint, is what has influenced clearly our strategy towards real impact globally. The goal was set many years ago that we were going to find a way to facilitate impacting 1 billion hectares of land by 2025. Is that an exciting, incredible vision to lay out? Is it worth cheering, or is it worth getting excited about? Yeah? Because we believe impacting, influencing 1 billion hectares of land doesn't just address some of the climate issues that we've all discussed this weekend. It doesn't just address, some of the financial issues that we all realize could raise people out of some poverty. But it also addresses the ecological, it addresses the social issues that would position people, communities, voices across the world to be meaningful to themselves, to their communities, and to their nations that they're a part of. So real quick, before we go beyond that statement, I want everybody that represents a nation other than the United States to stand up right now. Thank you. So the beauty in this movement, in this revolution that the Savory Institute has a wonderful opportunity to be a part of, is that it is the collective voices of all of you. And it's not just a movement in the United States. The majority of the energy and time that we spend is in the U.S. and it's outside the U.S. in 18 plus countries, growing rapidly every year. But those collective voices have an impact on what we are going to do as a movement. If it was about the Savory Institute, it would be very, very small, even though there's some big thinkers in the organization. Because you can only think so big by yourself. But when you get all these people in a room, you get all these people moving in the same direction, the voice not only gets stronger and louder, it becomes complex and diverse and full of an enormous amount of energy and power that will not exist at the individual level. So when we embarked on this idea of this network, it was from this idea that we wanted something to be a local voice. We wanted something to be a multilingual voice. We wanted something to be a voice that was collaborative and had opinions and diversity and a perspective that was far different from the white guy standing up here in slacks and a nice shirt. Because I'm just one. The Savory Institute is one of 10 or 20. But all of us are one of soon to be 9 billion. And how, in a world of 9 billion people, can some voices be lost? I think we have to become the stewards of that. I think what we began to embrace and where we began to go is something that begins to hold sacred the voices that are not being heard, the voices and skills and talents that are not being used, and the opportunity to make impact that would never happen without them. The U.S. doesn't drive it. Europe doesn't drive it. It's all of us that will have to drive this change. And one that will come from deep within us, personal commitment and a conviction, but one that will have action and not just words. So with that, I want to ask all the hubs. We're going to divide into 3 groups because I just want you to see some of the progress that we've made over the last 5 to 6 years. So all the hubs, please come up front. Anybody who represents a hub, come up front. And you can just stand here below the stage, right here in front. And I want us to divide into 3 groups, so I'm going to let you guys self-herd yourself. And that is, we're going to 3 groups. Those who have been hubs, have been accredited hubs, been a part of what's going on for a while, stand to my right. Those who just became fully accredited hubs, stand here in my middle, right? And those who are still in the process of becoming accredited hubs, go to the left, my left. Right? So right are organizations that have been hubs for a while or individuals. In the middle are hubs who have just finalized their accreditation with the Savory Institute. And then to the left are ones in process. So currently we have 27 organizations, 18 different countries, representing communities of millions of people who are interested, engaged in becoming true regenerative agents of change in their communities. And I think that deserves a big round of applause. So with this movement, you cannot, and believe me, these guys here know it because I have the opportunity to engage with them often on a regular basis. You can't keep them quiet, okay? Their voices are so strong at times, right, that it becomes a little messy. It becomes something that's hard to manage. But could it or should it be any other way? No. Because it is this, and what is sitting in the chairs out here is what's going to take everything to a level of real change. So I'm going to give them all just a moment, each group, not each person, so you're going to have to organize yourself into one speaker, just to give just a moment, right? A reflection on how are they participating in making this a voice of change. Here.
Okay.
Come on.
Hello. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm really honored to be here, and I think that if loneliness has no fruit, as Neruda said. So we tried to work alone for more than 20 years in Patagonia, and what we have learned and we are doing now, being part of a network and being part of this group of committed people, is so inspiring and give us such a strength that I believe that this is the way that we can make big, big changes in the future. And we need all of you to support this initiative.
Come on, Beth, speak.
How did I get roped into this? Well, I just want to say that the experience of being part of this Hub network has really been transformational for me. And these guys I'm standing up here with are mentors and friends, and my resource base and my depth of knowledge as a practitioner has increased so much as a result of this initiative and this effort. So thank you to the Savory Institute, and thank you to all of you guys.
Let's hold applause to the very end.
No, you can applaud. Don't listen.
Or not.
From the beginning, when we start practicing holistic management, obviously my life changed. Obviously, it's not easy to try to change the world or trying to change our context. So when you feel so much, or you see so much potential, how much you can impact the life of the people life, the farming life, the economies, and the ecology. So it's a lot of frustration. Frustration when you can do it faster. So what we get in this group is a lot of energy. It's good to feel that you're not the only crazy one. So it's a great organization. We are so proud to be part of this. And really, when we are here listening to all the speakers, we feel a lot of hope, because sometimes you feel like it's a very hard work to try to change the things, but we care a lot. So it's very good to see that the new hub, the young people, young farmers, new people from different knowledge areas. So it's so good. So the only thing that we can say is keep moving. You know, we need it. So thanks.
Thank you. So real quick, before we go to the next group, I want to say something about the group to my right. Daniela and Alan and others in the team will say that when these guys signed up in terms of being a part of a network, it was as much a huge leap of faith and risk as it was the opportunity. It really didn't exist. And so when we threw the vision out, it became something that we hoped people would say, yes, let's do that together. And these guys here to the right were the first groups of individuals and organizations that said, yes, we don't see it. It doesn't exist. You guys are seeing 3 generations. When we started having the conversation with these guys, there was nothing other than just the hope that something could come of it. So I do have a great respect and deep admiration for you. So thank you.
Chile.
The Pacific Northwest of the United States.
Argentina.
And then could we, name off the other?
We're with Beth, and we want you to know that Beth is the second generation holistic management practitioner and a second-generation holistic management educator or field professional, as we call them now. We're proud of her. Thank you.
My name is Sheila Cook, representing Land and Livestock Management for Life in the British Isles, and I'm here with our two co-founders, Marianne Hill and Christopher Cook. And I'll just give you two ideas of how we're planning to build a movement in the British Isles. One is food. Food is really important, and we want to build a consumer movement understanding the linkage between nutritional food and human health. And then secondly, we recognize the need to have demonstration farms and trainers throughout the British Isles who can really speak to their locale. And so our intention is to do that. So those are the two of the ways that we'll be building a movement.
Yes, Matt Raven. We're at Michigan State University. And so we're actually, and Jason Roundtree is my partner here. And we're the first university to be a hub. And so being a... We both have tenure, so that's the reason we're still here. Yeah, and so since we are a land-grant university, we want to interface with research, extension, and education. And we're also known as a global university, a global land-grant. You know, that's what our president says we are. And so being part of the network has allowed us to really reach out and be global.
My name's Julie Mettenberg, and I'm here with 3 generations. Myself, my mother, Roxanne, and my daughter, Chloe Burns. And someone renamed her Chloe Awesome Burns. Anyway. We come from eastern Kansas. We call ourselves the Tallgrass Network. We're in the part of the world that is the great tallgrass prairie of the United States, nearly all of which has been plowed, except for some little pieces in our backyard and on our place. So we look forward to helping people where we live find their path forward, which, quite frankly, is a very bleak place to be right now. They don't really know. So we're happy to bring the power and energy from this back to where we are. And the network power is with Michigan State, for example. It opens doors for me to have the conversation with people who wouldn't listen to me, or with an African hub also doing this, many of which it would be great to have here. But to have it happening around the world, it opens doors for conversations with anyone who might doubt. So it gives us a lot of power and a lot of open doors. So thank all of you for being here part of this. And looking forward to getting to know you all really well.
Hi, my name is Judith Simmons. I'm from Australia, and we are the first Australian hub. Unfortunately, my colleagues weren't able to attend today, but our main focus is on 80% of Queensland is drought declared at the moment, and our main focus is bringing hope to those landholders that are in severe drought and just basically existing on drought handouts. And we'd like to give them some hope to be able to run and own those properties themselves and to make some money from what they do. So that's what we hope to do.
So Kim and I are from the Northwest Territories in Canada, and that's 1,000 miles north of Edmonton. Yes. And yeah, and so basically we are living in one part of the world that has not yet been degraded. Yes. And so our desire, when we were searching and looking for, helpful information to go forward as we implement agriculture in the north, being that we want to have this is a rare opportunity, how can we work with wild systems and implement domestic systems that aren't degenerative or degrading? And so to be able to have holistic management as a guiding principle as we go forward, because we're building an actual Northern Farm campus, so it's called the Northern Farm Training Institute, to help people of the North learn how to create appropriate food systems for our climate and our place, and maybe actually complement and increase the fertility and, you know, build a more fertile, productive place. So we're quite happy to be here and with everyone.
We are White Oak Pastures from the great state of Georgia. My father's generation industrialized agriculture, making food cheap and abundant, but with horrible unintended consequences. And we are about the business of recognizing and fixing those unintended consequences to the land and to the animals. Thank you.
My name's Spencer Smith. My wife and I are operating the Jefferson Hub. That's the hub serving California and Nevada. And we are here with the intention of empowering landowners and people to take charge of their landscape and use the tools available to them to improve ecosystem process and give them the resiliency during drought and flood and the different things that happen to us, so that we can, you know, drive our own boat and make sure that we get where we need to be long term. This is for proactive people that are going to see change as they need it to be on their place. So if we can help you or want to partner with or any idea in any way, we are willing to cross that bridge and partner with all people to help them develop the tools necessary to see the change that they want to see in their landscape. Whether it's production or conservation or habitat, whatever it is, these tools are the only tools we have to see change. So we must embrace them. And if we can help you, we're willing.
Hi, I'm Claudia Kenny. I'm part of the New York Hub. I'm an organic farmer. I've been practicing holistic management for the last 20 years. I'm working with Paul and Phyllis Van Amberg, who are dairy farmers, working with Maple Hill Creamery. And we are hoping to affect our food shed with sustainable practices. My specific passion is around getting young farmers trained in the holistic management decision-making model so that they have a better chance of being able to run sustainable operations and staying in business.
Hi, my name is Oscar. I'm from Sweden and represent the Scandinavian Hub together with Märta. And I think we have our Norwegian colleague Trond in the audience somewhere. Maybe? Trond? Okay, I can't see him. Anyway, yeah, we're, as I said, a Scandinavian Hub, and we have practitioners in Norway and Sweden, and we also have a lot of interest in the Baltic states, and we're in the process of figuring out how to work together the best way possible to spread these ideas in Northern Europe, Scandinavia. For me, as a quite young person, it was a really life-changing moment when I came in contact with holistic management for the first time, and it gave a whole new meaning for me, for my life, because somebody was actually saying that there is something that you can do to make a positive change, not only be as little bad as possible for the environment or for, yeah. So that was great, and then to be a part of this beautiful network and meet all these people from all over the world and be a part of a global network of people working for the same thing is extremely empowering. Thank you.
My name is Molly Cheatham, and I'm from Lilongwe, Malawi. I'm with my colleague Tiffany Loveridge. She's sitting back there. We're from Kusamala Institute of Agriculture and Ecology. We work with about 1,500 farmers. They're all smallholder subsistence farmers. We did a baseline survey recently, and 75% of them have infertile soils. 50% are potentially might not have food within the same year. And so we are working with those farmers on permaculture and agroecology and training them and educating them on how to regenerate their soils, on how to improve their livelihoods. And we're also incorporating holistic livestock management into that. And it's nice to be a part of a network and a part of people who are making change all throughout the world. And it's nice to not feel alone in making that change. So.
Thought I'd escaped. Hi, my name's Sarah Jackson. With my husband, we're working to establish a hub in Ethiopia. Now, I think everybody probably has a similar picture in their mind when you talk about Ethiopia, which isn't very positive and also isn't real. It's a very distorted image. So alongside helping communities working in the grasslands and living in the grasslands who are in very difficult situations, we also want to help improve the image of Ethiopia. It has the 6th largest livestock population in the world. Massive potential for generating income from that if we can improve the quality of the land and help people move back to the traditional ways of managing animals. Because when you talk to the communities about holistic management, they say, well, that's what we were doing 50 years ago. It's incredibly similar. Not exactly the whole planning process, but all of the grazing stuff, it's what they did. So it's very nice.
We have a couple that...
Hey, my name is Durukan, and my friends call me as Dudu, my family name. And everybody in this room is now my friend, so you can all call me Dudu. You're welcome. And tomorrow I'm going to have a little session in some room that I'm not sure which one, but about the young people and the work that we are doing in Turkey, as we are the Turkish hub of the Savory Institute. So you are all welcome to attend and listen to our story, which I'm not going to give much spoiler now. But in a nutshell, what happened was that someday we were told, as the co-founders, the core team of the Untitled Hub, that, guys, hey, there is something called holistic management that offers the most meaningful, the most adventurous, and the most funny, and the most really regenerative thing that can ever exist. And we were like, oh, sure, yeah. What else to dedicate your life for? So we get on board. That's the story in short.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mario David Pedraza from Central Mexico. I'm leading with my family the Sierra Gorda Hub from 2013. We are of the first generation. And we have been doing our job the best as possible, pushing as hard as possible. The government agencies with lots of people doing introductory courses. But we have a lot of noise down there and a lot of people involved already. We are pushing even with the Mexican Church to adopt a new vision with the new Pope vision. So we have been doing a lot of work down there. So thank you.
Okay. So go ahead. Somebody? There are a few. So there are a few hubs that aren't represented. If anybody walked in late, you can come up here and we can do that. If not, you will have the opportunity to continue to engage with these organizations and individuals throughout the time here together in conversation. And then just feel free to engage in what it looks like for them in their context. But what I can say right now, that there isn't a greater reason outside of what you guys did with Alan the other night for a standing ovation. It would be these guys. So. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. So now that you've been inspired by these voices, thank you, Mario. What I'd like us to do is begin to talk about how these voices can impact your voice. And so I want to go into 3 things quickly with the little time that I have left to position this as just an opportunity for you to extend the message, the voices that you've just heard to your own life. Because if that doesn't happen, all of this was absolutely pointless. It really has an opportunity to make real change. But that real change comes with dedication, with commitment, with intentionality, with an enormous amount of energy and belief that we really can do something. That it's not lost. That it's not forgotten. That there is a generation of people now and in the future that are going to take up the mantle and run with it in a way to have the opportunity to be a part of that collective voice. Now, that collective voice, in my opinion, is something that goes beyond just the idea of regenerative agriculture. If you've spent any time with Alan along, his passion is not just about what animals can do on the ground. It's how people make decisions that could change how economies run, how societies form, and how we as a people of this world can move forward. Without those three elements, it doesn't work. And Alan will share story after story of when he would go into a ranch or go into a community and talk about the very intimate relationship between the animals and the soils, and then walk away and find that it's still degrading at a rate far greater than he could have ever anticipated. Until he integrated the social pieces and the financial pieces and all the other pieces to allow it to be a real expression of holism, the interconnectedness of things, is when real change started happening. We cannot make decisions any longer as a society, as a culture, in a vacuum. What a politician says and does, what a government worker does, what an agriculturalist or a farmer rancher does, a lawyer, a CPA, a doctor, all matter and all are interrelated. So I've had multiple people come up to me through these last couple of days and said, what role can I play? I don't own a farm. I don't even own a pair of boots. What can I do? And this is what the Savory Institute continues to want to empower, is not just one person on the farm continuing to give their life to those things that we know will regenerate soils. We need to see that happening in our institutions. The institution will be in a far greater place and better place if there are people like you who influence the idea of holism, that the interconnectedness, that we can't make decisions the way we've made decisions in the past. It requires a whole nother level of intelligence. It's not an IQ. It's not your emotional intelligence. It's an intelligence that takes it to the idea of recognizing that these things all are so interrelated across that we need somebody, Hubs, you paying attention to those things. No longer can we make those decisions differently. I love this quote. I'll show you these pictures while I read this quote. If man is to recover his sanity, his spiritual balance, there must be a renewal of communion between the traditional, the contemplative disciplines, and those of science, between the poet and the physicist, the priest and the psychologist, the monk and the politician. This isn't about one group, one sector, one specialist. It is about people in all kinds of waves of life that have a voice that can make real impact, that can have real understanding and wisdom, that will allow this movement to not be something superficial, but it will allow it to be transformational. But this is what Thomas Merton said after he said that. He wrote this book back in 1968. It's called Love and Living. And this is what he says. But one thing is certain. If this contemplative, the monk, the priest, the poet, the scientist merely forsake the vestiges of wisdom and join the triumphant, empty-headed crowing of advertising and engineers of opinion, there is nothing left in store for us but total madness. Love what Thomas Jefferson says here. This really requires something deeper. Love it. I hold it that a little rebellion now and then is a good thing and as necessary in the political world as storms in the physical. We believe this needs to be a revolution. In the soils, in the souls, and in society. Without it, this will fall flat on its face. This cannot and should not be narrowed to just what the agricultural sectors want it to be. It's about grazing and it's about movement of animals. It's deeper than that. It's more transformational than that. And Alan is committed, and this institute, and many of you for many years have committed to something deeper than that. It cannot be misunderstood. If we are going to change this world, it's going to take a level of commitment that you saw in these hubs. It's going to take a level of discipline that you've seen in the lives of the people who are doing it on the ground. And you're going to need voices in government. You're going to need voices in the political powers to be, to make changes, to be able to make this thing work in a way that is far greater than any one person in here can imagine. That is what a revolution is about. And a revolution, I think, in my opinion, is one that begins and ends with the idea of something that is missing. You know, I looked at multiple different movements, and, you know, in some religious or faith-based perspectives, it's a reformation. In others, it's a change agent or it's a paradigm shift. For us, it's going to be something that I think will cross all aspects of society and mean something far greater. I want somebody else to read this quote. Who would like to volunteer? Right here. Dad volunteered for you, buddy. Just do it.
Okay. Dance on the chair too?
Yes.
We do not live merely in order to vegetate through our days until we die, nor do we live merely in order to take part in the routine of work and amusement that go on around us. We are not just machines that have to be cared for and driven carefully until they run down. In other words, life is not a straight horizontal line between 2 points, birth and death. Life curves upwards to a peak of intensity, a high point of value and meaning, at which all of its latent creative possibilities go into action, and the person transcends himself or herself in encounter, response, and communion with one another. It is for this that we came into this world.
That is a very thick statement. But I want to hear from you. Any just off-the-cuff comments of what that was saying?
Life's about finding your meaning, not happiness.
I would say that this is speaking against what I've heard. I'm in college right now, and I don't know where the rumor got started that 18-year-olds know everything, because I've not found that to be the case. And I get a lot of advice from people I don't necessarily ask. And At popular demand, I'm standing up. And I get a lot of people that tell me where I should be going and what I should be doing. I should be looking for a useful major. I should be a doctor or a lawyer or something that's going to fill that requirement to get from one point to another horizontally. And this quote is kind of putting into words what I've been holding in the back of my mind and what I have been using to rebel against that idea. So this is just kind of, it speaks to me very deeply because it's putting into words what I've kind of been holding as a truth for myself.
Thank you.
So this really speaks to me a lot. I spend a lot of time, I work on a ranch, and I go out and do the stuff I do every day, and that can be kind of seen as the straight line, but majority of what I do is looking around and learning and trying to decide new ways to make where I live a better place. And it's always changing, always different, always really hard, and you have to be on top of it to figure it out. So you have to be in communion with one another and your land, and it's so complicated but so rewarding.
Thank you. Any other words?
What it meant to me was that we as individuals achieve our potential as parts of a larger organism, a community, more so than as silos and individuals.
Awesome.
I think this is saying what Henry David Thoreau said in Walden Pond. Pity the poor young man that inherits the farm, for it is much easier inherited than it is gotten rid of. He'd be far better off if he were born in an open field and suckled by wolves until he might see more clearly which field he wishes to tend.
Awesome.
It meant to me that we as individuals need to find meaning through our lives. Not the meaning of our community, but we need to find that meaning through a community. So being an individual is part of a community.
So one thing that I want us to move in understanding these rhythms, we believe this rhythm is a revolution, but it's not reservation, right? It's not resolving that everything is just going to be able to work, hide our heads in the ground and go into the closet and act as if things will fix themselves. That's not what's going to happen. The other thing that I really think it's important to recognize is it's about complexity, not capitalism, not technology, right? It's not that there's one against the other, but it's recognizing in complexity, there isn't one solution. There isn't. The variabilities, the opportunities exist and change all the time. That's what makes it complex. So as we approach these solutions, our rhythm needs to be something that recognizes the flexibility and the cultural context that exists to make these solutions work. Because it's not going to be about us prescribing anything to anybody and expect that those things are going to work. Beauty about holistic management and holism, it's about frameworks. It's about process. It's about decision making that allows you to see the complexity and the flexibility across multiple different variables. So it really is something far deeper and far opportunistic that I think addresses something. But with that, I want to read something that I think is very symptomatic of our society. We live in a golden age of technological, medical, scientific, and social progress. Look at our computers. Look at our phones. 20 years ago, the internet was a creaky machine for geeks. Now we can't imagine life without it. We're on the verge of medical breakthroughs that would have seemed like magic only a half a century ago. Cloned organs, stem cell therapies to repair our very DNA. Even now, life expectancy in some rich countries is improving by 5 hours a day. A day! Surely, immortality or something very like it is just around the corner. Is technology going to save us? It sure can help. That's right. It's all about management decisions. The tools should be in the toolbox with the opportunity to use as a part of us continuing to address solutions in a very complex world. But it won't save us. Financial returns will not save us. It'll help. It'll support the efforts, but it won't save us. If that was the case, the things that have happened with the increased GDP across all the nations over the last 20 years would have resulted in significant social progress. Societies, organizations have tended to degrade over the last several decades, not increase in viability. One of Alan's significant influencers said this: "This is a good world. We need not approve all of the items in it, nor of all the individuals in it, but the world itself, which is more than its parts or individuals, which has a soul, a spirit, a fundamental relation to each of us, deeper than all other relations." Man, there's something magical, meaningful about recognizing the sacredness and the connectedness and the relatedness of all things. But our silos get in the way. So it's about holism, not isolationism. John Ralston Saul, which is a book, Voltaire's Bastards, that Alan recommended for me to read a long time ago. He says, the reality is that the division of knowledge into feudal fiefdoms of expertise has made general understanding and coordinated action not simply impossible, but despised and detested. You guys will need to rise above that. You will need to find a way to build bridges. So it is about something greater, but it's going to be about intentionality, something that you will need to do that's far deeper and far more intentional than anything that I think has been done in history. I want to end with this. I want us to take a moment because it's about thinking about this. It's about intentionality around this. And so I want somebody, Chris, who will read this quote for us to get into a state of what I call creative silence that came from Thomas Merton. Who would like to read this final quote?
The discipline of creative silence demands a certain kind of faith. When we come face to face with ourselves in the lonely ground of our own being, we confront many questions about the value of our existence, the reality of our commitments, and the authenticity of our everyday lives.
I had significant influence from Birju Panda, who's in the room, one of my Buddhist friends, who would allow us to just take a moment and then just breathe on this. Just breathe on it.